And according to an excellent...
Sometime in May, Gulf States utilities will request a rate increase in excess of $100 million from the State Public Utility Commission. GSU officials cite inflation, increased production costs, along with converting power plants from using natural gas to coal, are the main reasons the rate hike is necessary. Last year, GSU received a $44 million increase. But the nation's poor economy has forced the power company to ask for another rate hike.
It's, as I said earlier, it's never a pleasant task to go before your public, whether you're an individual asking your boss for a raise or a utility company going before their publics to ask for more money, but it's absolutely necessary. We have cut expenses. You know, we've done everything that we could do in order to hold our costs down, but costs keep going up. Inflation, the high cost of building new plants and converting old plants, just the high cost of borrowing money.
The exact figure on the average increase on your monthly utility bill will be determined sometime next week. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
Rice and soybeans are the two major crops in the Golden Triangle. Both crops suffered through last summer's drought to some degree, especially when temperatures consistently maintained 100-degree levels. Presently, reservoir levels are lower than ever before because in the past 12 months, we've only received 2 months of normal rainfall. And for area farmers who rely on the reservoirs, these statistics are all too clear. But one rice researcher says things are better than they appear.
I think this is probably one of the best years we've ever had, simply because we had a fairly dry winter. They were able to get their fields in perfect condition, and actually apparently had enough water to go ahead and plant the rice. Generally, you can plant under dry conditions. You can do what we call flush the rice. You run water over it.
However, Bullock says for those farmers who are just beginning to plant rice seeds, an insufficient water supply could greatly reduce rice yields and affect the milling quality. Although soybean plants have been called the Cinderella crop, Dr. Bullock explains that if it is too dry, soybeans won't mature, and if too wet, it can be devastating to soybean seedlings. And if there is another summer drought and the farmer can survive it, now more than ever, energy cost will hurt his pocketbook.
The cost of energy as related to land preparation, pumping, irrigation costs and such, I think that's a factor farmers have to face regardless of what the weather does.
Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Actually, with that program,
What's your name?
Rebecca.
What's your name?
Rebecca.
Really, wouldn't y'all really still like to be in school today?
No.
You don't want to be in school today?
It's Good Friday. This is what's good about it.
Okay. You all left home, came all the way to the beach to watch the soap operas. Would you please explain to the people at home why you came all the way to the beach to watch the soap operas? Well, you heard it right here on Channel 6, folks.
They play in water.
Played in the water? Can you swim?
Yeah.
Swim real good? You can't sit in the office and adjust the air condition and sharpen pencils. None of that kind of stuff out here today.
Oh, I know.
You're even getting us all wet. You'd rather be out here?
Yes.
You sure?
Positive.
You be the star of the family.
Seriously, wouldn't you really rather be at work today?
You have got to be kidding.
With a little help here at CRM State Park, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The two branch college campuses in our area, Lamar at Port Arthur and Orange, were in danger of closing down due to the same set of circumstances, but state legislators rallied together and were able to avoid such a closure, at least for now.
My colleague Frank Colazzo and I did make a motion which passed to have additional funding for the Lamar branch campus in Orange and also in Port Arthur. This is something that has been needed since the inception of these universities. They have been underfunded, and what it would amount to is $200,000 a year additional support for the two branch campuses.
This is not the only additional funding Lamar University hopes to receive. There is also mention of the engineering department receiving funds for renovations.
Another item that was in the suggested budget was for a major remodeling and repair job to the Lucas Engineering Building on the main campus. This would be about $1 million renovation, and it's something that has long been needed, and we're optimistic that the money will be in the budget for this remodeling job.
The push to get Lamar University the extra funding was spearheaded by Crawford and State Representative Frank Colazzo. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
As one hedge against inflation, a lot of people have been buying art. However, an oil painting is out of the question for most people due to the cost. A more affordable medium of art, however, is something called the print.
All of the prints were done by Peter Milton, who's a contemporary printer, and he's considered one of the finest etchers in the country today. And if you look carefully at his prints, you could see his technique is really quite incredible. He uses a very complicated technique that would take forever to go into, but it's called lift ground and photosensitive etching. So he does use photographic imagery in his engravings, but all of the work is actually handwork. Printing takes like 3 steps where you engrave your image, cut your image either with sharp tools or acid into a metal plate, you ink it, and then you put paper on top of it and roll the whole thing through a press, and then you pull your image off of the plate.
How would a price of a painting, say, differ than one of these Miltons here on the wall?
Okay, well, first of all, it depends on which painting you're talking about, but right now, prints, of course, are less expensive than a painting would be. First of all, prints are made in editions. Usually, if you look down at the bottom, you'll see 40/100. It means that this is the 40th in an edition of 100. In other words, you'll use that same metal plate 100 times, and then they will cancel it. So that's why prints can be less expensive, because you can have multiple images from that one initial artwork, which is the plate. Peter Milton's work is increasing very quickly in price. In other words, what sold for one price 5 years ago would have increased in value at least several times.
The Beaumont Art Museum has a club for persons interested in learning how to invest their money wisely in prints. As an investment, prints have one great advantage. You can enjoy them for their beauty as well as their monetary value. Dave Pomeroy, Channel 6 News.
Ice skaters are an unusual breed because the profession combines athletic ability with the performing arts. G. Jatt has been a professional skater for 14 years. He first saw the ice capades when he was 19 years old, and he has loved skating ever since.
It's competitive to get into, but I think once you're into it and you learn the business and you like what you like, there's no competition because you're yourself. And if you like what you're doing, there's no other you. So I don't think it's competitive after you're in it. It's competitive as far as getting into it to see who gets there first.
The skaters live literally out of a suitcase because they perform on the road 10 months out of the year. How does this constant traveling affect Gene's personal life?
It hasn't affected my personal life at all in any way yet because I haven't decided where I want to settle down yet. I like the road. I don't particularly want to live where I was born. So right now, I still enjoy doing what I'm doing.
Gene says he won't be skating all of his life, but for now, he wouldn't do anything else. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
The Downtown Optimist Club held their 8th annual open all-trophy horse show today at Beaumont's Fair Park Arena. There were 2 different categories of events during the show. The halter category events involved showing of various classes of horses. The performance category included riding events such as barrel racing, reining, pole bending, and flag races. The riders are classified into 3 different age groups, with trophies being awarded to winners in the 12-year-old and under class, for those 13 through 17, and to riders over 18 years old. The horse and rider with a high point total for the day's events will win a beautiful saddle. All proceeds from the show will go to the Optimist Youth and Community Projects. George Garza, Channel 6 News.
Long considered the soft and cuddly symbol of the Easter holidays, the bunny rabbit stands out as a favorite gift for this time of year. For Donnie Keehans at Pickett's Farm and Home Supply in Lumberton, the association between rabbits and Easter provides a profitable venture, which also brings much happiness to area children. Donnie has been raising rabbits all of his life and says they are easy to care for animals which make very good pets for children.
Do you have any suggestions on the care for the bunnies after Easter when they grow up?
Yes, ma'am. First off, you need to have a large enough cage for the rabbit to get exercise in. And then you need to make sure it has plenty of water and feed, but not enough feed to make it too fat. And then you just need to watch it for any diseases or anything it can get. And just make sure they don't get too hot now during the summer.
These tiny bunnies are now 4 weeks old and should reach 9 to 12 pounds at maturity. Donnie cautions those who buy his bunnies for Easter presents that they must be prepared to continue caring for the animals long after the holidays are over. Have a happy Easter. Ann Bond, Channel 6 News.
Jefferson County Commissioners went on public record this morning directing their opposition at American Airlines' application to abolish joint fares. Within the next 30 days, the Civil Aeronautics Board may carry out the airline's wish. County Judge Richard LeBlanc explained why it is essential that joint fares continue to flourish at our airport.
We definitely have got to have joint fares in order to stay competitive with Interstate 10. And Mr. Seaberg, who is president of Metro, says that it could very well be the death of his company, you know, if joint fares are abolished.
Commissioners will send their letter of opposition to congressmen and senators and to the Civil Aeronautics Board. Representatives of the Beaumont and Port Arthur Chambers of Commerce and Air Texana also went on public record in support of the commissioner's stand. Toward the end of the meeting, Precinct 3 Commissioner Dave Smith voiced his feeling that the court should send a letter of interest to Sun Air and Frontier Jetline Service. At first, County Judge Richard LeBlanc balked at the idea. Smith again stated his feeling about the letter, and LeBlanc hesitantly agreed.
But I think it should come from you as the county judge of this county, or ask our airport manager.
I'll do whatever the majority of the court wants. What's the court want?
Judge, I say a letter coming from you, the airport manager, to more or less designate in an off-cheek way about where we'd like to get some flights to and see if they're interested, such as Frontier.
I think it would be just a letter endorsing Sun's application for flights in and out of here.
Judge LeBlanc then gave his final opinion, but in the end agreed to send Sun Air and Frontier a letter.
I still think it's a mistake, and if Metro and Air Texana do not perform, do not come through within the next 90 to 100 days on what they have indicated to me that they will, I think, yes, go out and solicit somebody else to go to Dallas or Houston. But it would be the crowning blow on Air Texana if another airline came in here and went to another field. They would be bankrupt, and within 90 days, I predict.
Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Today, the Port Arthur City Council amended their pipeline ordinance that regulates the construction and maintenance of gas pipelines within city limits. But oil company officials question the need for the ordinance.
I think the City Council quite properly needs to respond to any danger to its citizenry. And I'm sure that their proposed changes to the ordinance are designed to that effect. Unfortunately, we feel that this will not accomplish that all it actually is doing is adding another layer of bureaucracy.
Oil companies will be helping to finance a city pipeline inspector, and they'll be required to report all leaks directly to the city of Port Arthur. They feel that the new pipeline ordinance won't enhance pipeline safety, but will only cost time and money. But Port Arthur officials believe the new ordinance is very worthwhile.
And that's one of the strongest points about the new pipeline ordinance revision that the council passed today, is the fact that it does have some stricter requirements on reporting leaks in pipelines in the city.
So you think it's going to help a great deal in protecting the citizens of Port Arthur?
Yes. The council feel that it will go a long ways to providing more safety to the residents of Port Arthur.
Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News.
Suppose the powers that be in Austin decided it was time for a tax increase, or maybe a state program needed more money, its funding coming from your pocketbook. Right now, you wouldn't have a say in the process, except through your elected officials. But that may change by Thursday. The Texas House will vote on whether or not to approve a measure called Initiative and Referendum, a proposal that would allow Texas voters a direct voice in any legislative decision concerning your money. It works like this. If the legislature decides to spend more money, Texas voters will have the option to vote on it. 10% of all voters in the 190 counties would sign a petition forcing the issue into an election. Whatever is decided by that election would then become law. Governor Bill Clements is a strong backer of the Initiative and Referendum plan, and he is supported by House Speaker Bill Clayton. But there is a problem. While these two men do pull some weight, it appears that if the Initiative and Referendum measure does pass, it will be a watered-down version with some legislative limits. One of those limits is a line that states that even if voters approve a spending proposal, the legislature can override their decision by a 2/3 vote. The Initiative and Referendum measure will be debated this Thursday. 100 votes are needed for House approval. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
Initiative and referendum would give Texas voters a direct voice in any legislative action concerning money appropriations or taxes. The measure would force the issue to a general election if 10% of Texas voters sign a petition. This type of government public system is favored by about 70% of the state's population. That's according to a state-commissioned poll that was run 5 months ago. But that same poll showed that the measure had only a 50% chance of passing the state legislature. The reason for the discrepancy? A very strong lobby effort in Austin. Companies such as DuPont, Intex, Union Carbide, Pennzoil, and United Gas Pipeline have waged a war against initiative and referendum for the past 2 years. They say the measure is counterproductive to the conservative cause because of the dangers of combining a limit on state spending with lower taxes. The lobbyists have been effective. The state legislature was supposed to vote on the measure last Thursday, but will now be considered this Thursday. The lobbyists claim that will help them gain more support to defeat the measure. Even if it is not defeated, initiative and referendum in Texas will probably become a watered-down version with legislative limits that would make it almost useless. But the sponsor of the bill claims he has the votes to pass the measure. Representative John Sharp of Victoria says he has 93 surefire votes, and he hasn't counted all of the House members yet. According to House rules, all he needs is 7 more votes to pass the initiative and referendum proposal. We'll report the results to you later this week. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
A large number of kitchen fires began on the stove, according to fire officials. And although your household may have a fire extinguisher, fire officials say that many families don't know how to use them properly.
You can take a small hand extinguisher and do wonders, properly applied. But improperly applied, it's ineffective.
Would you say that the average person may not know the correct procedure in using a fire extinguisher?
That's one of the bad things with hand extinguishers in the home. The people are not properly trained.
This demonstration showing the correct way to use fire extinguishers is part of the Firemen's Training School held each year at the Beaumont Firefighters Training Grounds. The demonstrations are open to the public, and fire officials are on hand to answer any questions you might have about the use of your fire extinguisher.
Let's always call the fire department first, then make an attempt to extinguish the fire. And use your hand extinguisher, apply your extinguishing agent to the base of the fire. We've got a golden opportunity out here today through the rest of the week for anyone, vehicles of any type, to come out and view the fire extinguishers in operation. The proper application for hand extinguishers, should you have a fire in a stove, in the kitchen, vent a hood, we've got a wonderful opportunity for the public to come out and visit with us.
Over 400 firefighters from across the country are participating in the training school, which runs until the end of this week. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
History will record that the favorite candy of President Ronald Reagan is jelly beans, but the president probably never saw any like the Texas-sized jelly beans sent to him by Margie Carter.
We sent President Reagan some Texas-sized jelly beans because we are from Texas, and we knew he did like the small jelly beans, so we thought he would enjoy the Texas-sized jelly beans.
Okay, now I understand that you have received a letter back from the president. Could you give us an idea of what it said?
He was very pleased to receive the jelly beans. He says, "Thank you for remembering me with the Texas-sized jelly beans in the specially designed container, which is the Texas oil derrick."
Ms. Carter says she hopes that the president enjoys his gift. From Port Arthur, Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
Okay.
He'll let you on the side.
I can get back.
Hair.
Oh, you...
Santa Fe train engineer Henry Trotty normally watches out for speeding cars who are trying to beat the train across the tracks. Today, when he turned his attention from the cars to the tracks in front of him in the 3600 block of Washington, a young man was standing in his path.
When I saw him, I was about 20 or 30 feet from him, standing on the rail on the opposite side of me. I just couldn't stop.
Do you think he saw you, or?
Definitely, for him to be standing on the rail like that, he had to see me.
Several of the passing motorists said it appeared the young man wanted the train to hit him.
I seen the guy sitting on the track on the other side of Washington Boulevard over here. Yeah, the train got close enough to him where he figured it would hit him. He just stood up and opened his hands. And when he opened his hands, the train hit him. By blowing my horn, they was blowing their horn because it happened so quick. He was maybe about right here. And when the train got close enough to him on the other side of the track, he just stood in front and opened his hands, you know.
He was just standing?
Like he wanted to die, yeah. Like he wanted to.
No identification was found on the man's body, which had been dragged 15 yards down the track after being pinned underneath a wheel. Police did find some traveler's checks on the young man, but they aren't certain if they belong to him. The checks have been traced to Hawaii. They have not been reported stolen, but police do not think that he's the person they were issued to. Investigators found a few other personal belongings scattered along the tracks, some books and some articles of clothing. But other than those, nothing to identify the man. Justice of the Peace Wallace McCaslin has not ruled on the death yet and will await the outcome of tests being conducted for possible drugs or alcohol in the man's blood. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
Singer Post Building Supply at 3rd and Green in Orange had been preparing for its grand opening, which was less than 2 weeks away. Today, the concrete structure still looks okay from the outside, but a 4-hour fire last night destroyed the rear of the building and portions of the front interior.
The fire was shooting up about 15 feet higher than the building, and it was just terrible.
It was all over the building?
Basically, it was the back part. The building's actually divided into halves, and the back part was the portion that was so badly burnt.
Orange firemen were called just after 8 o'clock.
We've got 3 points of origin and also some flammable liquids present. And we definitely do think it's arson.
Y'all have any suspects?
No, we don't have any suspects at this time.
Meanwhile, here at the Orange County Courthouse, arson was also on the agenda as the trial started today in connection with that American Bridge fire a few months ago. Labeled the worst fire in Orange since the downtown section was destroyed in 1957, this fire early last Halloween morning leveled American Bridge's administration building. 35-year-old Ralph Barr, Jr. of Orange went to court today charged with setting the blaze. Barr says he was out of town and has pleaded not guilty. 43-year-old Gerald Freeman of Vidor also charged in the case. We'll keep you up to date on the trial and also the investigation into last night's fire. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
One-story fires are difficult enough to fight, but fires in a multiple-story building become even more complex. Towering inferno-type blazes in Las Vegas in the last few months have reinforced concern over safety standards in high-rise structures. And that's how the idea for a hotel-motel fire safety seminar took root. The fire department in Beaumont, Texas drills firefighters on one of the best fire training grounds in the country. And they invited over 650 hotel management groups to attend a 2-day workshop.
We felt a need was there for the people themselves and the hotel industry to get together. And this is why we designed this thing, to find out the latest in technology, what's available to them, what's coming maybe 6 months from now, what they will have in the way of alarm system, sprinkler systems, this type thing.
The Beaumont trainers expected an enthusiastic response from national hotel chains and associations, but the reaction was disappointing, with only 3 or 4 confirmations returned.
We really don't know why we didn't get a real good response from the management people, of course, involving these high-rise buildings, but we felt like we had something to offer. And of course, we had a good fire planning session as far as emergency evacuation. We're disappointed. But
ironically, most of the support for the high-rise fire safety school came from the media, not from the hotels and motels that a fire could destroy. Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News.
pipe fitters and 3 carpenters unions have agreed to new terms for a 3-year contract with 2 Golden Triangle contracting firms. This clears the way for construction to resume on some major building projects in our area. Since the construction strike began 3 weeks ago, work on the Gulf and Texaco refineries, Park Central Shopping Mall in Port Arthur, and Gulf State's new Edison Complex building has been at a standstill. Last night's ratification votes will allow 4,000 workers to return to their jobs, but there are still 4 other unions that have not reached any kind of an agreement. And in most of those cases, no new talks between the parties are even scheduled for the near future. Pickets were seen at the Goodyear chemical plant in Beaumont today. The Teamsters had set this one up, protesting the lack of a contract. The implications of a picket line are far-reaching. The unions that have settled with the contractors will have to make a decision whether or not to cross a picket line to go to work. Presently, no unions are planning to cross any line, but work may continue at some locations. It depends on who is working on the job, what union they belong to, and if anyone on that particular job is on strike. The entire situation may become clearer tomorrow. That's when a general meeting will be held between the striking unions and the contracting firms. We'll let you know what happens and how it will affect you. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
So far, more than $500,000 worth of jewelry, diamonds, and other valuables have been stolen from West End homes. Detectives say the daytime burglaries do not stem from any organized crime groups, but rather from individuals breaking into these homes while residents are at work. But recently, neighborhood watch groups, like this one that met at Barry and Lynn Larkin's home last night, are being organized to stop these burglaries and to catch the criminals who are victimizing the residents. According to undercover detective Jimmy Singletary, some residents leave windows and doors unlocked during the daytime, which invites burglars.
More times than not, I guarantee 90% of the people in this town keep their good jewelry, their diamonds and everything. They keep it in the home, they keep it in the master bedroom. And he's well aware of that. And he knows exactly, more times than not, they keep it in a drawer, in a big chest drawer. And the most exotic ones, and he can go through a house, a whole master bedroom, a large master bedroom, and say in 2 minutes and find out if there's anything there worth taking.
If you are interested in starting a neighborhood watch program in your area, contact the Beaumont Police Department at 838-0800. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
The area Lamar University will abandon is between University Drive and Callahan Street. By doing so, this will allow the university to provide additional parking spaces, which are desperately needed.
Our growth in this area has been tremendous, and we are going to close some parking facilities that takes care of Gray Hall and Combs Hall and make that into a tennis court for our students, and this will allow additional parking spaces which we would lose from the closing of that parking lot.
This area is currently closed Monday through Friday from 7 to 4 in the afternoon. By closing it permanently, students won't have to worry about dodging cars at night and on the weekends.
We're some days away from actually closing the street. We have to complete some interior surface work first, complete some relocation of utilities and everything before we can actually close the street and make it into a service drive and additional parking.
City Council, upon recommendation from the Planning Department and the Planning and Zoning Commission, approved the request at its meeting. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
Since the massive drug raid, which involved students at Forest Park High School in February, there has been a growing concern about the drug situation in our schools. Many parents were misinformed about drug abuse, while others were at a loss in helping their children who use drugs. Tonight, a group of parents at French High School was given a complete overview of the present drug situation by the Texas War on Drugs Committee. The organization was created by Governor Bill Clements to inform Texas residents about the problem and what they can do in solving it.
We hope that the parents will realize after they've been to this meeting the great proportions of our problem with drugs and alcohol in our schools. And we hope that the parents will be aware of this. And our major concern is drug prevention. not curing the child after he has already been into drugs, but working with the child, keeping an eye on the child, talking with the child, and trying to prevent him from ever participating in drugs.
Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
Texas Railroad Commission Chairman Jim Nugent came to Beaumont to help Mayor Maury Myers make the public aware of the possible disasters ahead due to inadequate railroad track inspections. You may recall that we have no state track inspectors. Texas is one of 5 states that receive federal inspection from only 11 inspectors. The battle for funds for state track inspectors ran into a brick wall about 1 month ago when the Transportation Subcommittee on Budgeting voted down funds. The figures Chairman Nugent brought with him concerning derailments in Texas were bleak.
In 1980, there were an estimated 755 derailments in the state, resulting in over $23 million in property damage. These figures do not include grade crossing accidents with a motor vehicle or accident caused by human error. The principal causes of derailments are defective track and equipment.
Another fact, there are 13,000 miles of mainline track in Texas. Only 1,000 miles of that track is inspected annually. Mayor Myers became painfully aware of the danger in Beaumont in 1979 when the tracks running along Railroad Avenue were cited for over 30 violations. The cost to fix the tracks was $670,000. Kansas City Southern Railroad absorbed the cost. Nugent also points out that 25% of the nation's energy is transported through the port at Beaumont, making this area's rail transportation to the nation very important.
Chairman Nugent will continue his travel to several cities in Texas to gain public support for the track inspectors program. But he knows it will take an amendment to the appropriations bill during a floor hearing in both the House and Senate before the conference committee can even consider the issue. It's a long road ahead. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Well, I think that the cuts will be modified to some extent. But basically, most of the cuts recommended by Reagan will probably pass. And the tax proposals will be more difficult, but I think the cuts will probably pass, most of them. The Democrats have an alternative which is pretty close to it. It modifies some of the impact, which I probably will support. But in either event, it's a matter of cutting off your left arm or your right arm.
So what do you see as trends in the future?
Well, we see a number of trends at the present time. Of course, the trend that consumers are most familiar with is the increasing cost of natural gas. We have seen a substantial amount of conservation as people have reduced their usage because of higher prices, and that's the intelligent reaction of a consumer. In fact, our consumption per customer has declined about 20% since 1972.
Looking at our region of the country, can we see any changes in our gas consumption within the next several years?
Certainly, this part of the country is going to remain an important hunting ground for oil and natural gas, and I guess probably 2 of the hottest areas in the country right now are just across the Sabine in Louisiana, the Tuscaloosa trend and the developing Cotton Valley trend over there. Our consumption per customer, per residential customer, is much smaller than in other parts of the country where they have a great deal more weather than we do, that is, cold weather. There's no reason to believe that we found anywhere near all the natural gas there is to find in this country.
September 1980. The underpass at College and Railroad Street in Beaumont is flooded. 1 person dies after driving into nearly 15 feet of water. October 1980. The underpass at Washington and Irving Street floods. No fatalities, but it causes a great inconvenience to motorists. What has the city learned from this, and could the same thing happen again this year?
We're working on a drainage plan for the city of Beaumont, and we hope to improve
the runoff from the surrounding areas to keep these underpasses from flooding.
Several things have been blamed for the flooded underpasses, most of which have been or are in the process of being corrected. But COP says when you get a lot of rain in a short period of time, you will almost always have flooding.
It is real hard to see how deep the water is. When you've got just a lake of water, you can't tell where the road is, and you got to remember that there's a pretty good drop-off in the underpasses, and of course it gets deep in a hurry. And if we get a heavy rain, we're checking these underpasses constantly.
Are there any other kind of warning systems at any of the underpasses?
No, sir. There's none.
We seem to be following the same rainfall pattern as last year, and if that holds true, we can expect underpasses like this one to flood after a heavy rain. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
What you've got to remember is that these are not bank robberies in which an armed man runs into a public place and other people see him as he flees. These are not sidewalk muggings where passers-by may see the assailant as well as the victim. These are crimes in which, so far as we know, there's no crime scene, so there's no evidence to record footprints or fingerprints. There's no murder weapon. There's no appreciable motive.
With the cooperation of the Beaumont Police Department and the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, the body of a man was found in a shallow grave near Creekwood Road, just inside Lumberton, shortly before 6 this evening.
Russ Landry, criminal investigator of Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, called me this afternoon and said he had some information. There was a body buried in Hardin County, and we met him up here, and we had a real good idea where from his information. And after a search, we found a possible grave site, and upon digging it up, of course, we found the body.
How deep was the grave?
I'm going to say 3 feet to 4 feet.
Any ideas of how long the body had been buried there?
We have an estimate of about 10 months from our information of when the man was supposed to be killed.
Beaumont police say that they were working on a different case when officers gathered information which led to the discovery of the dead man. Sheriff Hosapple says that they have an idea as to the identity of the man. However, it is not possible to confirm the identity at this time. An autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of death. In Hardin County, Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
It's hard to start with a specific area because Beaumont was severely hit in several locations by possible tornadoes or high winds and heavy rains. Among the first signs of the heavy rainfall were the underpasses, like this one on 11th Street, bordered by Cedar Street and Hollywood. However, as we got closer to College Street, the damage became apparent. This billboard in the 3400 block of College was easily pushed into power lines, where it finally rested. The poles supporting the sign were snapped in places like toothpicks. As a result, electricity in the immediate area was cut off. Just a half block down from the broken sign was this torn-off roof at Chuck's Wrecker Service. Again, the high winds had left their mark. Chuck Guillory, the owner of the Wrecker Service, tells us what happened.
All of a sudden, we heard high winds. We were inside an office, and we started hearing the roof started peeling back, and before we knew it, the roof was all gone off, and it was pouring down raining inside an office, and the tin off the roof just blew up against a bunch of the cars and hit quite a few cars out here, hit the trucks. And then the lights went off after all of that, and seen a sign next door fall and hit a transformer, and that's when all the electricity went out.
From College Street, we made our way to Interstate 10, where we found the freeway mini warehouses, which run alongside the interstate. For unknown reasons, one of the 4 storage warehouses was picked out by the powerful winds and de-roofed, leaving concrete blocks laying everywhere. Rains then set upon the various belongings of those who had stored them here. Power lines running above the area were snapped to the ground. Mrs. Louise Bounds manages the storage houses. We tried to interview her, but she was too upset. She had barely escaped injury. However, her husband told us what she had gone through.
What did your wife tell you that she experienced when the winds came through?
She was just a nervous wreck. She was just, just frantic. She was just frantic. She said, she put her arms around me, and she said, we lost everything. Lost our TVs and all everything. Just everything's gone, our furniture and everything, our clothes.
So it's all damaged now?
Yes, sir, it sure is. It sure is.
Okay. Was she injured?
No, she got out as the roof was caving in on her. She got out as the roof was caving in on her. She got the door open in time in order to not get hurt, but the stuff was falling and caving in on her as she was going out the door.
This is what the storage compartments looked like from Helicopter 6. The damage to Beaumont continues. Trees were torn down on North Street, and crossing North Street on 22nd Street, more trees ripped from the ground, leaving that street virtually impassable. Going to the west side of Beaumont, Helicopter 6 found more trees, again torn and splintered. Some barely missed the houses surrounding them. The sign at this boat dealership running along the East Tex Freeway near Parkdale Mall was also thrown to the ground. And as if that wasn't enough, there were also several house fires throughout the city. This one was on Stardust Street in the North End. No one was home. Although Beaumont suffered a great deal from the severe weather conditions, our neighbors to the west got the worst of it. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Shortly before 11 o'clock this morning, a tornado ripped through the small town of China, Texas, just west of Beaumont. 2 persons were injured in a mobile home along Lee Street in China. According to a witness, a boat flew across the street and a tremendous roar of winds came through. The mobile home was destroyed, and one woman, Mrs. Tressie Leager, and an unidentified child sustained injuries and were taken to a hospital. No report on their condition is available at this time. Throughout China, storage sheds lay mangled. Huge trees were completely uprooted. Others splintered into pieces. Downed power lines crisscrossed roadways. And other mobile homes had their roofs torn off and insulation blown away. Many glass windows and doors were shattered by high winds, and shingles were peeled off rooftops. March Bieber told us what it was like when the tornado struck.
Okay, we were sitting at the kitchen table watching the clouds come through and wishing that it would rain, and then the rain came and the wind started to pick up, and I went in the garage to close some windows, and then as I went back into the house, the pressure built up so that our ears popped, and we could tell that things were beginning to fly, so we hit the floor and then got into a corner of the house, because at that time we realized something was coming through, and we just stayed in a safe corner of the house while we could hear it rumbling around and just roaring around for a while. I said, gosh, this is a tornado, and we hit the floor and then crawled to a safer place, because we could tell that it was something was happening out there. We didn't want to look out the windows. We had seen some things flying.
Damage is widespread in China, Texas in the aftermath of today's tornado and storm, and it will be a day or so before all of the damage can be assessed. Communication has been minimal since phone lines in China have been down all day. Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News.
As one Houston police official put it, all of Harris County was hit hard by today's storm that left 2 people dead. Shortly after 9:30 this morning, the pilot of this single-engine plane died after crashing into a residential area on the west side of Houston. The identity of the pilot is unknown. The driver of this car also died in an accident on State Highway 6 and Interstate 10 after a cement truck lost control, swerved, and crashed through a guardrail, running head-on into oncoming traffic. 2 other people were also injured and taken to nearby hospitals for treatment. Downtown Houston also felt the wrath of the storm. Several downtown office buildings suffered significant glass damage. A restaurant also lost part of its roof. And this 6-month-old motel suffered over $200,000 damage. High winds also destroyed several mobile homes on the west side of Houston in the Brookshire Trailer Park, and several homes were damaged north of Houston in the Sealy area. An unknown number of families are homeless tonight. Keith Elkins reporting for Channel 6 News.
Alcoholism is one of the leading drug problems in the United States, especially among young people. How to help the alcoholic child was one of the problems addressed at the PTA District 4 Spring Conference. Currently, there are about 80,000 alcoholic children in Texas, and many PTA groups try to help these children kick the habit.
One of the things that we're trying to do in this alcohol education grant from PTA is to go out and train parents throughout the state of Texas to inform them about alcohol use and abuse, to inform them about the extent of the problem of alcohol, so that they in turn can act as guidance people for their own children, so they can talk to them about alcohol use and start with them at a very early age, and not necessarily to teach them to drink or teach them to not drink, but to teach them how to make responsible decisions about whatever they do.
Walton feels raising the drinking age from 18 to 19 will not affect the extent of alcoholism. However, it does appear that the new law will stop drinking during the lunch hour. Walton says fighting teenage alcoholism is the responsibility of parents. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
To us about your verdict.
Mrs. Daniel, you have
Yes.
no comment up until now. What are your thoughts?
I'm so happy I don't know what to do. I just want to go home to my kids.
Tell us what you're going to do now.
I'm going to go home to my kids.
Did you expect this verdict?
I didn't know what to expect. But I think yes, I think I got the best.
Tell me the truth. Was there ever any real fear in your heart of losing your children?
Well, yes. But I just hope for the best.
Where are you going now?
I'm going home to Baytown to the kids.
Did you really expect this kind of verdict, or did you know?
I have an unbridled confidence in the jury system, and from the first note that they wrote, indicated that when they spotted the blatant ambiguity in the court's charge, which is there as a consequence of the law, I knew that they were going to read and write, and if they read and write and apply the law, then Vicki Daniels and the little children were in good shape.
What do you think was the key point in this trial?
There was just no evidence that would indicate to any thinking jury that Vicki ought to lose her children as any sort of punishment or to teach her a lesson. You don't teach people a lesson by taking their children away.
One of the jurors said that the killing had absolutely nothing to do with his trial.
That juror was absolutely correct.
I feel sorry for him. I really have real mixed emotions right now. I mean, I still feel a hurt, a deep hurt by people that you cared so much about. And then they, do something like this. I don't understand.
This is a familiar sound in several Beaumont neighborhoods as street department employees take to the streets in an effort to clean up torn down trees. The final count reveals that 30 trees had been toppled by high winds that raced through the city. Solomon Lee, a street department foreman, says the work of yesterday's storm on trees was the worst he could remember in 20 years. Bad enough that the street department had to call on the help of 2 other city departments.
We also, with the solid waste department, we had to borrow some of their equipment. We had to borrow some of environmental. It's interdepartmental, but we all work together to try to get it done.
COP says of the 120 street department employees, 60 to 70 have actively been involved in tree cleanup. Most have worked a lot of overtime. Primarily, workers drag off tree limbs that have scattered across people's yards, and at times have to cut trees into pieces because they were blocking streets off. Fortunately, most of those who lost their trees didn't lose their homes. This house at 4610 Delwood is a good example. Cleanup crews hope to have all trees and tree limbs picked up by this time. But there are a few exceptions. Some fallen trees have come to rest in power lines, and crews won't be able to remove the trees until Gulf States Utilities Company turns the power off. That may not be until tomorrow. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
Beaumont, like the rest of the country, must deal with the problem of unwanted and stray animals. The problem arises from the overabundance of pets allowed to reproduce at random by their owners. These victims of pet overpopulation often wind up in sorely inadequate city animal shelters like the old Beaumont City Dog Pound. However, the new facilities for the City of Beaumont Animal Control Department at 1884 Pine Street now offer our community a top-notch shelter to house the area's unwanted animals. David McCauley, Animal Control Department Superintendent, explained to us that the new building offers many new features to make it an effective and humane shelter for the unwanted pets which wind up under its roof.
Well, we've got a lot larger facility. We've got twice as many observation cages and almost twice as many other cages that we had in the old place. We have a lot more room to keep the animals.
The new building features a large central office and lobby, as well as a well-ventilated and roomy holding pen area for the inhabitants. Dogs being held here have the benefit of indoor nighttime pens and open-air daytime pens, allowing not only for a change of scenery for the animals, but also for daily, thorough cleaning of the alternate pens. Separate pens are used to house dogs being held under observation for dog bite cases or disease. And currently another area is being prepared for housing cats apart from the dogs. The facilities here at the new Animal Control Shelter in Beaumont are indeed quite nice, but shelter officials say that the responsibility actually lies with the community to help control the animal problem. Anyone looking for a pet is invited to come down and visit the facilities between 9 and 4 in the afternoon. I myself found a little kitten that I'm going to take home with me. Ann Bond, Channel 6 News.
This stately brick structure, built in 1926, is the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. Some 110 years after the church's original beginning, a Texas historical marker will be dedicated here during services beginning at 11 a.m. this Sunday. The church was first organized way back in 1871 through the initial efforts of William and Peter Minor and Simon Jones. The first sanctuary, a wooden structure, was dedicated in October of 1873 by the Reverend Archie Venerable and Reverend A.J. Shotwell. The current structure was built 55 years ago when the church was pastored by Reverend Walter Clark. This building was designed by Orange dentist Dr. C.E. Jeter.
A host of church, city, and state dignitaries are expected for the dedication ceremonies. Repeating again, those ceremonies will take place this Sunday at 11 a.m. here at the church, located on the corner of 5th and John. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.